of late time to start, but we here now. Oh boy, man, this series is coming to an end. I missed this series, bro. Don't go. Ah, I hate when I get to that point when I know the series is coming to an end. You can see it in the writing. Everything's wrapping up perfectly, and you're just like, oh boy, here we go. It's it's about that time. But man, I gotta find something new to read tonight. It's been a while since I've looked into finding a legitimate story. Gotta find something to read. Wait, let me do my usual setups here, but I'm gonna find something. Wow, I don't think type of type of scene is this? I've hold on. Let me start doing that, YouTube. This is a lot more clearer. Hold on. Whoa, I ain't never seen myself. Usually it's in the corner. You know what? YouTube's always making updates. This must be one of them. Anyway, let me get this started here. Okay. But yeah, I think it's time. I haven't done this in a while. I gotta go find a series. I need to find a series to read. I've not read a like last manga I really remember trying to lock in for something really was Fist of the North Star. But that was like a damn near a year ago at this point. I'm just reading random stuff, but I need to find something. I'm a look, or maybe it's a couple series that I know I can probably lock down into. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? Now, I'm getting things set up here. I'm gonna be honest, guys. We're not gonna be here for long. We are not gonna be here for long. This is not expected to be a long stream. I know I say that a lot, but I'm gonna be as strict with that as possible because we did that Sunday stream, which again was because of the situation. So we streamed, we did a stream on Sunday where we did some of the Ravens game and essentially just walked out in the fourth quarter. And then we streamed the Commanders and the Chargers. And then I did a late night stream during Sunday Night Football. And then yesterday we did a 2 hour stream well, in regards to the week 5 therapy session. And now I got to do this small stream here tonight because the Ravens made moves. And I can tell you this for a fact, if the Ravens make even more moves, I'll have to be back here again tomorrow. So, yeah. It's been kind of wild to see how things are going. I don't think anyone expected this situation to go the way it's gone. The funniest part about the situation right now is the fact that the Ravens are still favored to win the AFC North. The Ravens are also seen as a team that still has a high chance of making the playoffs. That speaks a lot about how they view this division. Which also, if you're Pittsburgh, how do you think you should feel about that? The Ravens are still favored. They're 1-4 and they're still favored to win this division. That's crazy behavior. But hey, I guess that's how things go sometimes. But that's beside the point. The Ravens, and it's already been done. The Ravens have made some moves. They made some moves today. Funny thing happened today, prior to the moves happening. The Bengals traded for Joe Flacco, which makes no sense. I get they want to put some sort of quarterback there, and I guess going for Joe Flacco, another backup, could work, but like, do they not are they so blind to the issues? Do they not realize they don't have a good offensive line? So Joe Flacco, old Joe Flacco, the statue quarterback, is gonna have to find a way to survive behind that offensive line in Cincinnati. Yeah, this is elder abuse. There's no reason. There is no reason. There's absolutely no reason. There's absolutely no reason. There's absolutely no reason for that to happen. But it's funny watching Joe Flacco go through the AFC North gauntlet. First with the Ravens, then with the Browns, and now he's going to play with the Bengals. And the funnier thing is the Bengals played, I believe the Bengals played, let me see. Yep, the Bengals play the Packers this week. So Joe Flacco beat the Green Bay Packers 2 weeks ago, even though he didn't play well in the game. It was really the defense that won the game. But Flacco was the quarterback for the Browns when they beat the Packers, and now he gets to play them 2 weeks later as a Bengal. This is crazy. Has this ever happened before in NFL history? Where a quarterback has played the same team, the same non-divisional team with two separate teams in the same season? Has this ever happened before? I don't think this has ever happened before. This is definitely new territory. This is new territory. This is absolutely new territory. But you know what? I'm down for it. So best of luck to Joe Flacco. But we are not here to talk about Joe Flacco. We are here to talk about the Ravens because EDC, Eric DeCosta, he has decided to make some moves because of the situation. Harbaugh was running his mouth talking about how they're considering everything and making changes here and there, and they're looking to do something because the urgency is high. The urgency is high. That's what we've been hearing. The urgency is high. So of course they're looking to make some sort of changes. And EDC got to work. Not quite what you expect situations to be, but hey, man, Eric DeCosta made two major moves today. So I'm gonna pull up the first one because I want to see. I don't exactly know if they put the full details for the first one. I know about the second one. But we'll see here. I can always just go to. Okay, so that's one, and then the other one. Let's do the first one here. All right, here we go. So with the Ravens being in the situation they are in right now, they understand that they got to go make some moves. The Ravens have no choice to go make some moves. They have to go make some. So, Eric DeCosta, what does he do today? Well, he makes two moves. The first move EDC makes is a signing to our practice squad, which we do with every player. So the first one, which was reported by Adam Schefter, free agent safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is signing with the Ravens practice squad per his agent. CJ Gardner-Johnson still gets his fully guaranteed 2025 salary with the Texans. So there's not much of a financial impact here for the Ravens. This is a low risk, high reward type situation for them. CJ Gardner-Johnson is coming to the Ravens. He's signed with a practice squad, and at some point, obviously, probably sooner rather than later, they will elevate him to the 53-man roster. So it comes down to that aspect. I'm not gonna lie. This move doesn't really change anything significant in terms of fixing the entirety of the defense. But there is two things here. Number one, this signing is basically an indication, in my opinion. I don't think I'm the only one on this, but I think this is an indication that the Ravens are trying to move Kyle Hamilton back into the box. They want to move him to the box. They want to move him closer to the box. They want him playing closer to the line of scrimmage. The way he was playing in 2023, because of the lack of the pass rush, they need to utilize Kyle Hamilton in those type of situations. So signing CJ Gardner-Johnson to your practice squad and eventually elevating him, you're gonna put him in that spot Kyle Hamilton currently is. You're gonna put him in that spot, which will allow you to move Kyle Hamilton down to the box where he could play there more closer to the line of scrimmage, which means you can use him in pass rushing situations to get to the quarterback, which is something he thrives in. You can have him closer to the line of scrimmage, so he can definitely make plays in the flat. He's going to be able to make a lot more impact at the line of scrimmage now that you have Gardner Johnson here. That's at least the game plan that they're trying to go with here. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't exactly know what you're going to get from Gardner Johnson. I have no idea. And I don't think this is going to magically fix the defense at all. Like, oh, all of a sudden you do this and this is going to magically fix the defense. No, I don't see that happening. But it could be an interesting thing to see. So that was the first thing that I wanted to point out. The second thing I wanted to point out is that everybody, what's going on, Houston? Everybody, every Ravens flock member that was watching, that was reacting to this, had one thing and one thing on their mind: the energy he's going to bring to the locker room and the willingness to speak his mind that he's going to bring to the locker room. So if CJ Gardner-Johnson does not perform well, I've seen a lot of Ravens fans say, hey, he doesn't perform well, at least he's going to speak his mind. So a good chunk of the fan base is at least hoping at some point, if things ain't going well and he's not put in the right position, that he's either going to curse out Zachary Orr or John Harbaugh or both. Everyone's expecting that to be the case. So you haven't had a guy like this in the locker room since Marcus Peters. This is like a Marcus Peters type situation. A guy that's just a straight dog that's gonna bring the energy and is not afraid to speak his mind. So if things ain't going well, and people are not doing their jobs, and the coaching staff is just underwhelming and they're not doing well, CJ's gonna speak up on it. So just be aware of that. People are looking at this and saying, if it doesn't work out with him on the field, we know he's going to cuss somebody out. And we're hopeful he can cuss out Zachary Orr or John Harbaugh. So that's the second thing I wanted to speak about, because that's just a mindset I'm seeing a lot of Ravens fans have. It's like, hey, maybe he'll be beneficial for us. Maybe he'll make an impact and make it easier for Kyle Hamilton to play in the box, which could help us out in the long run. But if it doesn't work out, which most people don't expect it to work out, if it doesn't work out the way the Ravens think it can work out, at least CJ's going to curse out a few people and point out the real issues with the team, which is something we need, because nobody wants to speak up in regards to some of these issues. They'd rather just, keep it professional and do the same thing every single week and just say the same thing over and over again. So CJ's going to bring that energy. That one was an interesting signing when I first saw it, and I basically looked at it and said, yeah, Kyle Hamilton's coming into the box because they want to play him close to the line of scrimmage, and that's most likely going to be the reason why they ultimately make that move. So that first move there didn't necessarily surprise me, didn't really make me think this is going to magically change the defense. It didn't really do much of anything. But hey, a signing's a signing. They'll be able to have Kyle Hamilton impact the defense a lot more. They're going to have to make Kyle Hamilton do more things because, again, Kyle Hamilton's the best player on the defense. If you're going to have any shot of turning things around, you got to you got the best player, you got the best safety, arguably the best safety and you have arguably the best safety and the most versatile safety in the league, who can do multiple things. So they're going to ask Kyle Hamilton to do a lot more in order to make up for a lot of the deficiencies you see on this defense. So they're hoping that this will help out. Yeah, Kyle Hamilton does play a lot. He does play in the box a lot, but this time they can specifically keep him there a lot more instead of having him back there. So when he plays the box, he plays in the. Wow, I'm speaking so fast right now. When he plays in the box, he's closer to the line of scrimmage. It's going to at least assist. It's going to at least assist in this god-awful excuse of a pass rush, because Kyle Hamilton has the capability of rushing the passer. So they're adding multiple elements by allowing Kyle Hamilton to strictly play in the box, because he can cover up a lot more of the deficiencies you see on the defense, which can allow them to start to turn things around. So if Gardner Johnson can just do his job and be, competent there, Kyle Hamilton can do a lot more at the line of scrimmage. So that's pretty much what they wanted to do with this move. So good for them. I don't know if it's going to change anything. There's still major issues both with the defense and as well as our offensive line, but hey, that's one move. Then the Ravens made another move that damn near caused celebration throughout the flock. And the funny thing about it is, it led to celebration for the flock, but it also led to a lot of celebration for the Chargers fans. I think this is a situation where you look at the trade and say both teams kind of won in terms of what you wanted to get out of this. So, the second move that happened that really got the attention of the Ravens flock, the Baltimore Ravens trade edge rusher Odafe Oweh and a 7th round pick, a 2027 7th round pick, and Odafe Oweh to the LA Chargers for safety Alohi Gilman and a 2026 5th round pick. So the Ravens found a way to trade Odafe Oweh, who is on a contract year. He's on a contract year. He was looking to get a contract, and he will be a free agent at the end of the year. So this move was quite interesting. It was quite interesting, and my God, this move was more about what the Ravens would get from moving off of Odafe Oweh as opposed to the trade itself. With the Ravens trading away Odafe Oweh, they can now save about $8 million in cap space. So I think right now the Ravens may have about 14 or 15 million in cap space. With that type of cap space, the Ravens could go look to make a move. And that is the expectation a lot of people have, that EDC is going to have to make a move because he is partly at fault for the situation we're watching right now. In terms of that front seven, that pass rushing unit, and the offensive line. So, you get rid of Odafe Oweh, and you get a draft pick in return, and you get a safety. Honestly, it's a win-win for both because the Chargers were looking to get rid of Gilman, and now they bring a guy in that could potentially be something. I've seen so many Ravens fans sit back and say, if Odafe Oweh goes to the Chargers and all of a sudden he becomes efficient as a pass rusher, I'm going to be pissed off. That all that would do is further prove that Orr's defense is a problem. That would further prove that. And besides, I don't care what he does with another team. He was not really what you wanted him to be here. That's the thing. A player could be bad with one team or be inefficient with one team. He can go to another team and thrive. Sometimes a new environment and a new change and a new system could be beneficial for that player. That's just how it is. Odafe Oweh was if he goes on to be something special with the Chargers, good for him. Way to go for his career. But he was never going to be that in Baltimore. And that's why they weren't going to pay him. The funny thing about this is I talked about this yesterday during the therapy session. I sat back and said, Odafe Oweh, you better talk to your agent and figure something out. Because when the season ends, you're not going to be on this team. You better talk to your agent, figure it out now, because when the season ends, you're a free agent, you're walking. Don't even call Baltimore, because Baltimore's certainly not going to call you. I said that yesterday. Less than 24 hours later, he's traded to the Chargers. So either he talked to his agent and realized they're not going to pay me a contract that I'm satisfied with, I'd rather be traded. Or Eric DeCosta realized this guy is not getting a contract from us, and we need pieces now. I'd rather trade this guy away now and get something from him than wait till the season and he walks and it's like, I'm not getting anything from this. So for the Chargers, you get somebody that could help improve your pass rush. I don't know if he's going to, but hey, congrats to you. For us, we get a safety that we can add to our depth because our DB room right now is decimated with injuries. So you add that extra safety, that's great to have. But most importantly, you saved $8 million in cap space. So they have the cap space now to go make a major move. And that's where the conversation further improves. Will the Ravens make a significant move to go get an edge rusher? Will they get that legitimate piece to try to help fix, improve, rebuild this front seven? They've got to go get that piece. Madubuike's done for the year. You need to add something there. And depending on how that injury is, he might be done for his career. I don't know. I'm not wishing that on them. I'm hoping and praying that's not the case and send my prayers out to him because a neck injury is serious. But he's, for the very least, out for the season. We don't know past that. So we just send our prayers up to him. But there's no Nnamdi Madubuike for the rest of the year. Your front seven's decimated. I'm completely decimated. It's destroyed. It's virtually empty. And now you're looking for answers in regards to that. So with this potential cap space that you're going to have, EDC has to go make a move and get somebody that's going to be a major impactful player for this front seven. So this is a massive win for the Ravens. This is a huge win for them. Maybe it's a huge win for the Chargers. Go speak to Chargers fans. You get rid of a player you didn't want, and you bring in a younger player that could potentially be a pass rusher that could impact your defense. I don't know if he's going to, but that's the mindset that Chargers fans have. For us, this is a huge win because you get rid of a player. You get rid of a player that you weren't going to pay at the end of the year. He was going to be a free agent, so he was going to walk. You get rid of him. You get a depth piece back for your DB room. You get a draft pick, and you get cap space to now be able to go make some sort of major move. Will EDC make that major move? I don't know. But he has to go do something with this cap space. Getting rid of Odafe Oweh was huge because he had a huge chunk of money on the cap space. He wasn't going to return. You weren't paying him a contract. You get him out of Baltimore. You get $8 million back in cap space, and now you have the cap room to go make a major trade for somebody. So I don't think this is going to be the end for EDC making moves because the Ravens right now are scrambling. They've got to refix this defense. They've got to figure it out. Now, again, I say get rid of the coaching staff, work at that point. But get Zachary Orr the hell out of here. You have Chuck in the coaching room. Let him be the defensive coordinator. Let him call the plays. That's the major thing you can do. Then you work to rebuild this defensive front seven. You already have a bunch of players that are injured that are going to be coming back. These players are going to be coming back. These players are going to be coming back. You've got a lot of talent on that defense. You've got a lot of talent on that defense. You're going to have major players coming back. Kyle Hamilton will be coming back. Roquan Smith will be coming back. Marlon Humphrey will be coming back. You've got major players that will be coming back from injuries. So you're probably going to lose to the Rams on Sunday. We all know that's most likely going to be the case. You head into your bye week. You may get Lamar back. Okay, actually, I don't think you're going to get Lamar back this week, but you could get Lamar back for the bye week. So coming out of the bye week, there's a chance you end up getting Lamar Jackson, you end up getting Roquan Smith, you end up getting Marlon Humphrey, you end up getting Kyle Hamilton, all four of these guys potentially back fresh off of the bye week. You get all those players back. You may or may not, I don't know, get back Patrick Ricard, I don't know. But you get all those players back, you get healthy, and now you see if you can go try to make a run. That's the mindset the Ravens have. Us fans are looking at it a different way, but, that's the mindset you got to have. You get these players back. EDC makes a move to add a piece to that defense. You get these starters back healthy. You get into the bye week, and you see if you can make a run to make the playoffs. The AFC is not strong this year. You can make the playoffs with 10 wins. So EDC, it's time to make some moves, and it looks like he's making some moves right now. Will it pay off? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But moves are being made. Moves are being made. Moves are being made. Is Barrett a free agent right now? I'm gonna be honest. Nobody right now. None of these free agents right now is gonna make a significant difference. Even getting Gardner Johnson is not gonna make some huge difference. You've got to go trade for if we're talking about improving and fixing this front seven, you got to go trade for a major piece. Signing any of these free agents for a one-year deal ain't going to change nothing. You're just adding a tiny piece to this defense for depth. It's not going to change nothing. You got to go trade for a game changer. You got to go trade for a game changer, a game wrecker, a legitimate guy. You got to go trade for him. There's a bunch of free agents out there right now. Ain't none of them going to be able to make a major impact on this defense. It's not even worth the time. Now, knowing EDC, it's a cheaper option, so he'll definitely be looking at these free agents to get as many cheap options as possible. But if he wants to actually fix this problem, you go get a real game changer. You've got cap space. You've got some pieces you can also throw up there. Go get a legitimate game changer. That's the only way to start to fix this defense, because you'll get Roquan back, you'll get Kyle Hamilton back, you'll get Marlon Humphrey back. You now got Gardner Johnson, and if he can be salvageable, you can move Kyle Hamilton down. That can change up the defense. That can seriously change up the defense. You cannot settle for any of these free agents right now. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to change anything. And everybody knows it. But that's not the Ravens' move. The Ravens' move is to go and sign some of these free agents. We all know it. I'm sure some of you guys have pointed out in the chat. The Ravens don't make moves like that. We all know the Ravens don't make moves for a huge game changer that's going to take up a huge amount of cap space, and we got to trade major pieces for that. They don't do things like that. But if EDC doesn't make that type of move right now, season's done. And at that point, his next door neighbor could be fired. Who knows? Who knows? This is serious. This is the worst defense in franchise history. You were a team that was not only one of the major Super Bowl contenders, but you were a team that many picked to go to Super Bowl. You were the team that was favored to win this division by far. You are one of the teams that was favored to get out of the AFC and win the Super Bowl this year. And now you're 1-4 and your season looks over. If the Ravens aren't willing to utilize an orthodox method from what they normally do, they're not going to be able to come back. So EDC, we know you like to get cheap fill-ins. We know you like the cheap option. You cannot be cheap here. You can't. You can't be cheap in this situation. So all those free agents that are out there right now, not a single one of them is going to change anything. Not a single one of those free agent players out there is going to make any level of significant change. Not a single one of them is going to change this defense. Not a single one of them. Not a single one of them is going to make any level of significant change. Not a single one of them. You have to do what you normally don't do, and you have to go get a game changer. Because if you get a game changer, you add that to the defense, you add that to that front seven, you're doing, Mike Green at this point, he's a rookie. He going to have to step up, but he's there. Tavius Robinson has been doing a real great job. Kyle Van Noy's back, and again, Kyle Van Noy can still make an impact, as we saw on Sunday. He's still at least he can still play. You get back Roquan, you get back Kyle Hamilton, you get back Marlon Humphrey. You'll have that secondary alongside CJ Gardner-Johnson. You figure this out, you retool it, you get your guys healthy, and then you have a game changer in that front seven. Now you could try to slowly rebuild the defense. But if you try to go for these cheap options in free agency, to try to fill up all these spots, especially at the pass rushing position, you've got no chance to do this. But we know how the Ravens operate, so I don't think they're going to make that major move to get a serious game changer in the front seven, because it's going to cost a lot of capital. And they don't want to trade players and do that. Most of us will say you should, but they're not going to do that. They're going to go for the cheap option. A game changer would be a Max Crosby. But they're not going to trade for a Max Crosby, because this is what the Ravens do. EDC likes to constantly pick up the cheapest option possible. He's a cheapskate. That is how he's built his team. That is how he builds his teams. He'll hit on some players. He'll make a nice move that's favorable for him if he's able to finesse the team. But mostly, he's going to get cheaper options. So that's what he's going to do. He's going to get cheaper options. So, good luck, Ravens. If EDC does not trade for a game changer, this pass rushing unit is not going to magically turn it around. Best of luck in that situation. But that was the second move the Ravens made, and I wanted to talk about that. Those are the two things I really wanted to speak of. I could have made a video on this, but I did want to get some of you guys' takes on this. Nowadays, it's really a lot more funner to be able to get your takes on things like this. I like to save the video making more for recaps of games, as well as speaking on specific messages in regards to certain things I want to talk about. It makes things a lot easier to discuss when I have topics that really could be a discussion topic with you guys as opposed to topics that I do have that makes more sense for me to make a video on it. So I usually make a video on it. I haven't made a video on have I? When's the last time I made a video? Yeah, it was a Chiefs game. I didn't make a video this week, or I didn't make a video last week. So probably I do have something in the works. So we'll see when that comes out. But yeah, this was definitely one of those that I would prefer to just stream and talk to you guys because I want to get your thoughts on this. But yeah, EDC made 2 moves today. He signed CJ Gardner-Johnson, and then he traded Odafe Oweh, got back a safety, got back a 6th-round draft pick, and then freed up $8 million in cap space. So we're gonna see what he chooses to do with that. Will he make a significant move? I have no clue. But moves have been made so far, and I doubt that's going to be the last move the Ravens make because urgency is high for them, and they know that they're on the clock, you know. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. But I am going to take a look at some of your comments here, get an idea of how you guys are feeling, and then we will call it a night. Nicholas, what's going on, man? Joe Flacco trying to be the first quarterback to play on 4 different teams in the same division. He may pull that off next year when Aaron Rodgers retires. Can we come back? Also, do you think we can come back if we get the real Lamar? Wait, what do you mean by get the real Lamar? Are you saying can we come back if we get Lamar back? Because I mean, unless you want to do the whole I can't believe it's not Lamar that people used to call Tyler Huntley, because they used to be calling him the store brand Lamar Jackson, or I can't believe it's not Lamar Jackson. People were making a bunch of jokes about that. But you're saying, do I think we can come back if we get Lamar? Well, the schedule favors Baltimore heavily. The toughest games they're gonna face off against down the stretch will be the 2 Steelers game and the Packers game. And depending on how the Steelers are, if the Ravens do get Lamar back and their defense somehow figures things out, they could win that. The schedule favors Baltimore heavily. That's why the Ravens are still favored to win the division, because they have a relatively weak schedule post bye week. They have a lot of teams that aren't really doing much of anything, that aren't really major threats, that aren't really severe, that aren't really juggernauts. The only team that seems to be a juggernaut, at least for the most part in everyone's eyes, as is the Green Bay Packers. The Packers are seen as a juggernaut, but when you look at the schedule, there are a few of those games that could be toss-ups. I know the Vikings aren't looking great offensively, and then you have Carson Wentz there right now, and it may be J.J. McCarthy, who hasn't done well so far, but the Vikings do have a good defense. Things could be interesting in that aspect. But they still do have great weapons, and with the way this defense is playing, that could be a game they lose. And then the Patriots, again, they beat the Bills. They showcase they can compete. Then again, we know it's a divisional game, but still, they show they can compete, and they have a winning record right now. There's a lot of games where you feel that the Ravens will be favored if they get Lamar back. So the possibility of the Ravens coming back is still there. Even if they go 1 for 5, because of how bad the AFC has been this year, if you can get to 10 wins, no matter how you do it, if you can get to 10 wins, you maybe make the playoffs. If you get to 10 wins in the AFC this year, you can win the playoffs. So if the Ravens go, let's say Lamar doesn't play this week and they lose the Rams. If the Ravens are 1-5 heading into the bye week, but they get Lamar and all their missing players back healthy, they, at the very least, have to go 9-2 in their final 11 games. 9-2 off the bye week. They will have to go 9-2 off the bye week to finish 10-7, which is very plausible with the schedule they have. And it's not like we haven't seen the Ravens go win 5 or 6. No, they've actually won more than that. We've seen the Ravens win 12 straight games in a row. We've seen them win 10 straight games in a row. We've seen them go on a 5-game winning streak, lose, and then go on another 5-game winning streak. So the Ravens can get wins in bunches if Lamar is back, if those pieces are back, and they can get it together defensively. So it is possible for the Ravens to come back, but most of us are looking at how things are going right now, and some of us aren't seeing that right now. Some of the fans are saying no, even if we get Lamar back, because of how bad this defense is and the fact that Zach Ertz is still here, we're never going to turn it around fresh off the bye, especially because none of us believe anyone's going to get fired. So even if Lamar comes back, there's a good chunk of fans that say no, it's not going to happen. And there's a good chunk of fans that say, well, Lamar's so good, he can still carry us to a playoff berth, even with the team being as bad as they are. So again, the possibility is still there. The possibility is high. If the Ravens lose to the Rams and go 1-5, the season will be in jeopardy, but it wouldn't be the end of the world because, again, we've watched the Ravens under Lamar Jackson win 12 straight games. We've watched the Ravens under Lamar Jackson win 5 straight games, lose 1, and win another 5 straight games. So the Ravens do have the capability. If they go 1-5, they have to at the very least go 9-2 in their final 11 games to probably secure a playoff spot. And again, these divisional games do matter because the Bengals are out of it. We know they're out of it because they're not that defense is terrible, and even if they get Joe Flacco there, they're not changing it's not turning around. Their season is done without Joe Burrow. We know that. So that's one. Cleveland's not a good enough football team to compete. So Cincinnati and Cleveland are essentially out of it. It comes down to the Steelers and the Ravens. So those two matchups between the Steelers and the Ravens could ultimately determine things. And we'll see. The Steelers themselves have their own deficiencies. They're not guaranteed to win down the stretch. That's why the Ravens, despite being 1-4, are favored to win their division, and they're still highly expected to make the playoffs. The AFC has not been great this year. A lot of teams are under 500 majorly. The Ravens can still come back, and they're not in a great division. So a lot of things favor the Ravens. Does it mean they're going to accomplish this and get it done and make the playoffs? No. But the odds are in their favor. It's just up to them to get it done. But we'll see. But yeah, they can come back. Will they should be the question, and I don't know if they will, but we'll see. Read Northern Blade. I'm pretty sure I've read that. I am pretty sure I've read that, but I can look into it. I'm pretty sure I've read that because I think it goes under another name too. Pretty sure I've read it before, but if not, I could give it a try. What's going on, John? Shout out to EDC for at least trying something. I don't know if that's enough. I don't know if that's enough for people to be satisfied because again, he didn't really invest in this offensive line, and he didn't do. He could have done more for the front seven. He did try with Mike Green, but for that offensive line, he really let that offensive line go to hell, and that front seven hasn't exactly been great either. So this is the trenches being so weak and soft. That's on EDC because he did not invest enough in the trenches, and that is something he has to take responsibility for. This is the NFL. Anything can happen. Of course. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs were 1-5 in 20. Well, I think it was 2015. The 2015 Chiefs were 1-5, and they made it to the playoffs because they won 10 straight games to go 11-5. Anything can happen. We've won 12 straight games with Lamar. We've won a multitude of games. We can win games in bunches. So the Ravens can definitely make the playoffs if Lamar gets back and healthy, and you get those other pieces back too. So it's possible. But they're just not in a good situation right now, so you're not fully sure. CJ Gardner Johnson finna be the energy. Oh, finna bring the energy to John. I hope he does. Flacco playing the Packers like if he was in both AFC and NFC North divisions. That is crazy to see him play the Packers as a starting quarterback of two different teams. I don't think that's ever happened. I brought that up earlier, but I don't know if that's ever happened. Doesn't matter what moves EDC makes if they don't change coaching, just feeding meat to the grinder. Yeah, that's the mindset many of us have because even if you make these changes, the coaching staff is either terrible at this point or the players have given up on them, which means their message means nothing. They're not going to listen. There's nothing you can do about that. So the bye week is where everything will be decided for this season. If they lose to the Rams, they have no choice. I think someone's arm's gonna get twisted. I'm telling you, if they lose in humiliating fashion again to the Rams, there's no way you can keep this coaching staff afterward. You can keep saying whatever you want, but at some point, someone's gonna say it's like at that point, John's not gonna be able to defend Zachary Orr because Steve at some point may speak up about this because he's gonna be losing money. People are not gonna come to the games if y'all gonna play like that and get beat every week. So yeah, I mean, the bye week is going to ultimately determine the season again. So we'll see how things go in that aspect. But it is what it is. Kyle Hamilton plays in the box a lot. Yes, he does. Still need pass rushes and an O-line. Absolutely. But they're not going to be able to make moves to cover all of that up. At some point, they're just going to stick with what they have. They can't fix that O-line. The best they can do is at least they're just going to rely on Lamar Jackson to save them again. But they know they have to fix the defense because there is no Lamar Jackson on the defense to save them. So they have to fix that front seven. It is what it is. I know Odafe Owe is not a. I know Odafe Owe not rookie season, but we was like had Jim. I know we got connection, but he was like, Jim, I know we got connection. Let me get him for a bag of chips and some water. Oh yeah, saying it's not. I mean, the connection between brother and brother. I'm sure they're like, hey man, Jim, You know, we ain't on the same team, but we ain't on the same team. You coaching there, I'm coaching here. But do me this favor, take Adafio real quick. Well, I would have loved to have heard the conversation, and I would love to know how Jim reacts to now having Adafio. Training with the Charge is so weird because it's like one brother taking something from another brother. It's like, you can have this, bro, and I'll take this. Can we trade or? You can technically trade a coach. It's happened before. John Gruden got traded to the Bucks. You can trade a coach. So yes, we can trade a coach. John Gruden, the Raiders traded John Gruden to the Bucks, and then he took that Bucks team to the Super Bowl, and then matched up with the Raiders in the Super Bowl, and already knew their system and scheme and offense because that was his system, that was his scheme, that was his offense that he implemented. So he knew how to dominate that, and that's why they smoked him in that Super Bowl. So yes, you can trade a coach. You can trade a coach, but who's gonna want Zachary Orr? Always sucks. Good luck, Chargers. Hey, man, he may be better over there. Who knows? Maybe he just needs a new environment. Sometimes we'll see that with players. Sometimes they'll be bad in one environment. They go to a new team, new environment, new system, and they thrive. That can happen with Adafioye. Who knows? But best of luck to him. Wish him a big speedy recovery. Hope he comes back a lot stronger. We all hope for that too, man. We all hope for that. My Chargers homie is pissed. Man, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of Chargers fans' reactions. Some have been happy, some have been optimistic, and a lot have been kind of mad at how this went because they're like, dude, he wasn't good for the Ravens. How is he going to be good here? And how does that fix our O-line situation when Justin Herbert can't get the proper protection? But that's a different conversation that Chargers fans are going to have. I can't blame Orr too much when the EDC is not giving him good players. We can't act like he hasn't had good players. He's not dealing with the perfect situation with the pass rushing unit, but again, when you take a look at what he has on that defense, we can't sit here and pretend that he doesn't have good players. And Cooper Rush is on the offense. You talk about EDC handpicked Cooper Rush and he's not good. That is an example of a bad decision that he made. But a lot of the decisions he made that we really point to being poor was the backup quarterback situation and the entire offensive line. Other than that, we look at the pass rushing. But there's so much talent on that defense that we cannot sit here and pretend that Orr is not working with bad players. Let's not make excuses for Zachary Orr. When you look at who he has there, you cannot sit back and act like the lot of the names that he had there, he inherited that from Mike Macdonald's defense. And we saw what Mike Macdonald's defense. He inherited that from Mike Macdonald. And Mike Macdonald's defense had these very same players, some differences, but these very same players, those core players, were in Mike Macdonald's defense and thrive. So we are not going to give an excuse for Zachary Orr. He has been awful. Because, I mean, Marlon Humphrey's on this defense. Kyle Hamilton's on this defense. Kyle Van Noy's on this defense. Roquan Smith's on this defense. We can't sit back and act like he has nothing to work with. That is not an excuse for Orr. He has plenty of time to work with. The front seven's not the strongest. The pass rushing unit hasn't been the greatest. So that is an aspect that has been unfortunate. But he has plenty of talent on that defense to at least look decent. And hell, when he took over as defensive coordinator last year, he didn't look this bad. For as bad as the defense was playing last year, they didn't look this bad. So we're not going to use that excuse. We're not going to use that excuse. We are not. Chuck says he doesn't want to coach anymore. Well, buddy, either you coach. Actually, they're not going to get rid of him. So, like, if you don't want to take it, go get somebody else, I guess. Because I was about to say, you coach or you don't have to be here. But, like, I don't think they're not going to do that. Who knows? Maybe if John says, I need you to take over as defensive coordinator, he'll have to. And he'll be like, all right, John, I'll do it. I don't know. EDC wasted first rounders on Brown, Queen, Owe, and possibly Bateman will all be gone. Brown axed to be. First of all, Hollywood Brown axed out. They weren't going to move him. Hollywood Brown willingly chose to leave. That's not an EDC. Hollywood Brown did not want to stay in Greg Roman's system. He chose to leave. That's John Harbaugh not getting rid of Greg Roman. That's why. So Hollywood Brown chose to leave. It's not like he just walked away. Patrick Queen, he worked out here. They didn't want to pay him. So I'll say EDC probably should have paid him. but it wouldn't have made that much of a difference because Queen is not this fantastic linebacker. He's not this, oh my god, a fully all pro type linebacker. Even though his last year here he was an all pro for the first time in his career, but he wasn't really at that level that was gonna be like, oh, him and Roquan Smith were gonna be perfect the following year. No, the type of money that Queen wanted, they weren't gonna give him that. That type of money he wanted, they weren't gonna give him that. Oweh was a bust, but yeah, Brown was a success. He just didn't want to be here. Queen, they didn't want to pay him, but he was successful here. Oweh, that was a straight up bust. Terrible decision. Did not work out. And Bateman, first of all, Bateman just got extended. They're not getting rid of Rashad Bateman. Yeah, he was lazy on that route. They're not getting rid of Rashad Bateman. They just gave an extension. They're not getting rid of him. They're not. I would trade Mark Andrews and Justice Hill in the package deal to get a stud on the line. You would, doesn't mean the Ravens will. That's not how they operate. We need Max Crosby. We need a lot of things. Doesn't mean we're going to get him. And you're right about that, Mr. 410. The Ravens don't make moves like that. So, yeah, I would call the Giants to see who they'll let go. Don't know if the Giants will be able to, not be able, I don't know if the Giants want to get rid of those guys. Because I know a lot of people will be talking about Dexter Lawrence. That's been a huge conversation. Go get Dexter Lawrence. I don't know if the Giants are willing to make a trade. I mean, again, at that point, I would try to offer a Mark Andrews in that situation because wouldn't you want to get more offensive pieces for your young quarterback in Jackson Dart, especially because Malik Neighbors is now out for the season. So offensive pieces could be useful there. Mark Andrews would definitely be one you could try to put in the deal to go get a Dexter Lawrence, but I don't see that they will do that. So I don't have any belief that they're going to hit up the Giants to try to get anything there. They would try to finesse the Giants or go for a cheap deal. I don't see that happening. I wouldn't give up draft capital for anybody. If you can go get a game changer, you have to give up some draft capital. You got a bunch of 5th round picks. You can use them to go get somebody. You can use them to go get somebody. Can we get another linebacker to pair with Roquan next season? Look what again, Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith. Again, what linebacker would you want to look to go get? Because again, they already drafted Trent Simpson to work next to him. Hasn't exactly worked out. They got Teddy Buchanan. He's a rookie, and honestly, he's looked better next to Roquan, much better next to Roquan than Trent Simpson has looked. So again, what linebacker are you going to look for? There's not a lot of great linebackers out there. And even the ones that are out there, you're not going to be able to get them. How many great linebackers are out there for you to go get? There's not a lot of teams are trading for linebackers. So who would you want to go pick up? Who would you want to go get that you think a team would actually be willing to let them go? All right, EDC gets what he pays for, and that's what we suck. There's a whole bunch of reasons why we suck. EDC plays a role into that, but he's not the only one. EDC not building in the trenches is why we're struggling, but he's not the only reason why the team's bad. Go look at coaching. That plays a huge role too. They made that move to bring Kyle back down near the line. Yes, that's exactly why they made that move. They need to win this Rams game. I don't know how they're going to pull that off, especially without Lamar. But we'll see. They'll practice tomorrow. We'll see what the status is on Lamar. The Chargers won that trade more than we did. This was a family deal. I don't care if they won it more than we did. This was a huge victory for the Ravens. They got rid of a guy that they weren't going to pay and gained $8 million in cap space to actually go make a move. This was a massive win. Let that be a fantastic win for the Chargers. I could care less. This was a major win for the Ravens. They needed to get rid of Odafe Oweh because they were not going to pay him at the end of the year, and he was going to walk in free agency. So instead of letting that happen, you get something for him, you save $8 million in cap space, and now you can go make a move, and you get back a depth piece for your defense. So it's not a bad decision. Great move for the Ravens. It could be a better move for the Chargers, but I could care less. I don't care how much the Chargers won in that trade. You got rid of a player that you were not going to sign. Odafe Oweh was not getting a contract from this team. He was going to walk as a free agent. You traded him instead, so you got something from him. You got a depth piece for your DB room that is desperately decimated. You've got another draft pick, and you got $8 million in cap space to try to go make a move now. That's a huge win for the Ravens. I don't care if the Chargers won more than the Ravens. That was a massive win for a player that you weren't going to play. You weren't going to pay at the end of the year. You got something for a player you were going to get nothing from at the end of the year, and you got cap space. to go make a deal now. So, massive win for the Ravens. It could be a better win for the Chargers, but the Ravens did win a lot out of this. I don't care who won more of the trade. The Ravens won, and that's all that matters to me. We're literally going to get demolished by the Rams, dog. Let's be for real. We're getting cooked. Puka and Devontae are going to... I've already said that 17 times over the last 24 hours. So, I mean, I don't have anything to say about that. I don't have a disagreement in that. EDC thinks he can be like Howie Roseman and survive off cheap edges. Difference is Howie can draft interior defensive linemen, and they have Fangio. That is fair. That is fair. But they draft better than we do, especially as of recently. If Lamar plays next week, we got a shot to win. But I don't know if he's going to, and I don't recommend him doing that. If he's not 100%, don't come back, Lamar. We just need 2 average guards in trades. Voorhees and Falele aren't even arena-level quality guards. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where you're going to get those guys from, but the EDC's got to figure it out. I am not in fantasy. I don't really have a fantasy team. Not this year. One thing I will say, players will leave the Ravens and become elite or great. Judon left, and he was a top 5 edge for like 4 years. And it happens. You get a different system, different scheme, and it works out. But not everybody that leaves the Ravens all of a sudden becomes elite. Some do, some don't. Coming back from a 1-4, not that hard, but a 1-5 is a stretch. It's possible, though, especially with a conference this. Normally, if the conference was as competitive as it normally was, this wouldn't be possible. But the AFC's been really bad this year, so it's possible. It's possible this year, but it wouldn't be possible last year. Rex Ryan come save us. Don't know if Rex Ryan wants to coach. Bateman last year showed he can be a top 15/20 receiver in the league healthy. It is what it is with that. Mark Andrews would thrive in New York. Brian Burns or Kayvon, I don't know. Again, I don't know if the Ravens are going to pull a trigger on that because they'll have to give up a player, and I don't know if they want to do that. Fire Harbs. We've been saying that for years, TJ. Imagine getting 40 piece by the lowly Texans. TJ, we've been saying that for years. He's not getting fired, dude. It's pretty obvious at this point that Harbaugh can't develop players. Homegrown guys aren't the answer. Might as well trade for players than draft. Or you could just get rid of the head coach and bring in, say, Brian Flores. I don't think you need to just decide not to... I don't think you should just stop drafting people. I think the answer is get rid of the coach that can't develop players. Maybe you get rid of the guy that's been here for 18 years and his messages run dry. Maybe a coach that players aren't really responding to anymore. Maybe you get rid of that guy. Because I don't think it's just a complete drafting problem. Maybe if you could develop these guys, you do a better job at this. But yeah, if we miss the playoffs, he's gone. Who knows? Don't know if that's really gonna be the case, but who knows? Anyway, guys, we are gonna end it here. This is not expected to be a long stream. We just wanted to briefly discuss some of the moves that have been made. And I have to end it here because it's very possible that EDC makes more moves. And I don't want to take far too long. I'm not going to let this go over an hour. I want to end this here. We can call it a night. So I appreciate you guys pulling up to this stream today. John has the best job security in NFL history, probably. I appreciate you guys pulling up to the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. We just wanted to briefly discuss these 2 moves. If EDC makes more moves, we will be back here on stream to discuss those moves and see what the Ravens can do. Tomorrow's going to be a very interesting day because that's going to be the first day they're going to practice this week, and we will see if they can get some of their starters back. We'll see the status on Lamar. We'll see the status on Marlon Humphrey, on Roquan Smith, on Kyle Hamilton. We'll see the status on all those guys. Whoever is able to practice will practice. Who's unable to practice will most likely not play this week. We'll have to wait and see in regards to that. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for pulling up to the stream, and I will see you guys later. Good night, everybody. Be sure to stay safe, and peace out.